Hey guys, this is part 2 of why I think Tesla stock will be able to hit $4,500 by the end of 2025. That $4,500 price target is based on a couple of things. One is that Tesla is able to produce 4.4 million cars in 2025. Another one is that Tesla is able to hit 40% gross margins in 2025. In my previous video, I talked about why Tesla is likely to produce 4.4 million cars in 2025. So if you haven't seen that video yet, I'll put a link to that video in the description below. In this video, we're just going to talk about gross margins. We'll have to talk about some other factors that will have to happen to justify that $4,500 price target, but we'll talk about that part in part 3. We're just going to focus on gross margins on this video. To give you some context, traditional car makers historically make less than 10% gross margins on their vehicles. To think that Tesla can make 40% gross margins is just totally ridiculous, but in this video, we're going to explain why this is likely to happen. There's basically 4 factors that can help margins and 1 factor that can hurt margins. The one thing that can hurt margins is that currently Tesla cars are more expensive than cars currently on the market. So in order for Tesla to sell millions of cars, Tesla may have to reduce prices in order to increase demand. Let's talk about that first. Currently, Tesla sells about 1 million cars per year. In the future, Tesla will want to sell millions of cars per year. So in order to get to that market, does Tesla need to reduce their price per car by maybe $1,000, or do they need to reduce their car price by $10,000? Or maybe Tesla just needs to add functionality to their car, like increased range or faster charging rate, without actually increasing their internal costs. So maybe they don't have to increase their cost at all, their price at all, and they can keep the same margins. The answer to that question is unclear. So that's why there's risk involved in owning Tesla stock. I happen to personally think that Tesla will not need to decrease prices. And in fact, I think that Tesla will be able to increase prices in the future without hurting their demand. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a bit. Now let's talk about the positive factors that will affect margins. One is economies of scale. Economies of scale will affect margins in a couple ways. One is that the same machines and the same labor will be able to produce more cars. 2 is that greater volume means that Tesla will be able to negotiate better prices for their parts, which would decrease the material costs of their cars. The next factor is that improved manufacturing methods will be able to drive costs down. In September 2020, at Tesla's Battery Day, Tesla revealed their plan to reduce their battery costs by 56% within 3 years. In order to do this, Tesla will use new manufacturing methods and new technology like their GigaPress, their structural battery pack, and their tabless battery. The next thing is that new factories will be able to decrease shipping costs. Currently in the US, all the cars are produced and shipped from Fremont, California. Soon, the Texas Gigafactory will be able to produce and ship cars for the eastern part of the US, which would dramatically decrease the shipping costs in the US. Additionally, the Berlin factory will be able to produce and ship cars for the entirety of Europe, instead of currently all the cars are coming from China. Not only would this decrease shipping costs, but this would also avoid tariffs imposed in Europe from cars shipped from China. And then in the future, when more factories are built, this would further increase localization in terms of shipping and further decrease shipping costs. And finally, the last thing is that Tesla's full self-driving software will improve, and as it improves, more people will buy it. The great thing about selling software is that once you sell enough software to cover the cost of producing that software, then each additional sale is just pure profit. So if Tesla's able to sell a lot of their full self-driving software, then Tesla will become massively profitable. But the question is, how quickly will Tesla improve this software? And once it improves, how many people will buy it? I think the biggest factor in determining whether or not people will buy this software is how quickly can Tesla get that software to the point where governments will actually allow these cars to be on public roads without an actual driver. And can this actually happen before the end of 2025? And man, if that happens, Tesla would become massively profitable. Software sales will go way up, and Tesla would have no demand issue whatsoever. I've been skeptical about self-driving cars on the road in the near future for a very long time. But after thinking about it for a bit, I do think that self-driving cars will be on the road before the end of 2025. If you asked me this even 2 years ago, I would say, no way, that's way too optimistic. 2025 is way too optimistic. And it wasn't because I didn't think the technology wouldn't be good enough. I did think that the technology would be good enough. I was actually more worried that legislators would not take that leap of faith and allow driverless cars on public roads. But after thinking about it a bit, I think that governments are actually incentivized to want self-driving cars. Let me explain. Everyone hates sitting in traffic. Governments also hate it when people sit in traffic, because when people sit in traffic, they're not working. When people are not working, they're not making money. And when people are not making money, they're not paying taxes. Suddenly, if autonomous cars become legal, then that time can be used for productivity. And by default, tax revenue would go up. Yes, you can also use that time for entertainment, but people will be willing to pay for that entertainment. And also, by default, tax revenue would go up. Traffic accidents in the US kill more than 35,000 people per year. And if autonomous cars prove to be significantly safer than human drivers, then this technology would save a lot of lives. So not only would it be morally good to have autonomous cars, but it'll also be economically good to have self-driving cars, because those tens of thousands of people who die per year are no longer productive members of society who pay taxes. For every person who dies in a traffic collision, the government loses tens of thousands of dollars per year in tax revenue. Housing affordability may also be solved by autonomous cars, because more people will be willing to commute further to work if they can just play games or sleep in their car. Although expensive real estate is near major cities because that's where the jobs are at. But if autonomous cars become legal, then it might make it not so bad to commute 2 hours to and from work, and people may choose to live further from work in order to save on their housing costs. Another way that this can help with housing affordability is that parking lots can be changed into housing structures. We have so much space in the US that is wasted on parking lots and parking structures, but autonomous cars can change that because parking wouldn't be as important anymore. Self-driving technology can also help with supply chains. If we have self-driving trucks, we wouldn't have a shortage of truck drivers, which is seriously hurting our supply chains right now. If a state like California had a bunch of autonomous cars driving around, it would improve the lives of Californians enormously. Southern California, where I live, is a great place to live. It has a bunch of things to do. It has a bunch of great places to eat, great weather all year long. The things that suck about Southern California is that it has terrible traffic and the housing affordability is terrible. We don't have a problem with people immigrating to California, but we do have a problem with people leaving California. And they leave partially because of traffic and because of housing affordability. But self-driving cars can help with those two things. It can improve the lives of Californians so less of them leave. I think what's going to happen is that states that adopt this technology first would see such enormous benefits that other states would be forced to adopt this technology, or else they'll be left behind economically. And then when this technology is fully approved in the US, then the margins at Tesla would be enormous. I think what's going to happen is that states like California, Nevada, and Arizona will adopt this technology first. And I think this would happen around 2025, and then it would take another 5, maybe 10 years for this technology to be fully adopted in the US. The thing that gave me more confidence in legislators is that those legislators have already approved other companies like Nero, Waymo, and Cruise Automation to use their self-driving cars in a limited capacity. So if those companies are able to get through legislators already, then Tesla will be able to get through legislators too. But the difference between Tesla and the other companies is that Tesla will be able to scale much faster, because Tesla has a completely different approach in solving self-driving. Their approach is focused on artificial intelligence, while those other companies are focused on sensors and high definition maps. The simplest analogy that I can use to explain this, it's not a great analogy, but it's the one that I thought of, is that pretend that you've lost your ability to walk. There is 2 ways you can learn to walk again. One is that you can train your mind and your muscles to walk again by just getting up and putting one foot in front of the other. You're gonna fall, you're going to stumble around, you're gonna bump into things, but eventually you'll take a couple steps, you'll take a couple steps more, and then eventually you'll learn to walk again. Once you learn to walk, then you can go upstairs, you can go outside, you can go up and down stairs, you can walk on any terrain. But the other way you could learn to walk is that pretend you can get like an adult version of a baby walker where it guarantees that you won't fall. you can get into this adult baby walker and you can push yourself around immediately. But you can only do this indoors. If you want to go outside, then you have to take off that baby walker and you'll have to walk the normal way. But your legs are not trained, they don't have enough muscle definition, and your brain, your mind is not fully connected to your legs yet. So you have to train that. So you have to take off that baby walker and you have to put one foot in front of the other anyway. So that's basically the difference between Tesla and its competitors. Tesla is choosing to immediately start working on this problem the hard way, but the correct way, while the other companies are choosing the immediate solution of using that baby walker. Tesla will eventually get it right, and once it does get it right, it'll be able to walk everywhere. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.